my channel. Hope you guys are all doing good today. I am going to be doing the America the Beautiful tag. This tag was created by Taylor from Tales with Tay, as well as Shannon from Old American Spirit. And this is kind of in conjunction with the Red, White, and June Readathon that has been happening all month long to celebrate America's 250th birthday. So I was tagged in this tag by Heather from the Reading Mama, and I've seen a bunch of people do it, so I'm happy that I was tagged too. But I thought this one through pretty good this morning, and I wanted to feature some books that I haven't talked about lately, or maybe even at all, so hopefully you guys will have some new recommendations here. All right, so the first prompt is In God We Trust, a Christian fiction book. So I actually picked out a series. I'm not a big series reader, but one author that I really like for Christian fiction and for series is Connilyn Cossette. I have been on her influencer team for her last 4 or 5, her last few books anyway, I think at least 4, maybe 5. And I'm always happy to promote Connilyn. I think, honestly, she is the best biblical fiction writer I've ever read. I really, really enjoy her biblical fiction. So I tend to enjoy biblical fiction rather than Christian fiction, just because, I don't know, I just like how it reimagines, you know, events. I like how, if it's well done, it reimagines events in the Bible without adding to them, right? Or taking away things that are important. And I think Connilyn does that really well. She really retells some of these stories, or just fills in details, right? She just really fills in details well from the stories that we know from the Old Testament, and without adding drama, right? Without adding things that probably weren't there, or trying to make them sound 21st century or anything like that. Like, she's just fantastic. Fantastic. Best biblical fiction author there is. So I want to recommend this series. This is the Out from Egypt. This is the first series of hers that I read. It's one of her early ones. Maybe it's her first series. I'm not sure, but I devoured these. There's 3 books, and it is set in the time of the Exodus. And the first one features a girl who was not a Hebrew, right? She was from a different nationality, and she joins them, right? She's grafted in right from the beginning. And so it tells her story, and then other 2 stories tell about women that have also been a part of that Exodus. So they're really, really good. So highly recommend all of hers for sure. All right, second prompt, Old Glory, a book that elicits strong emotion. So this, okay, this probably doesn't like elicit strong emotion for very many people, but it does for me. So I love this book. It's called The Bone Chest by Jarman. This is a nonfiction, so the emotion it evokes in me is things like my absolute love for English history, and, you know, for the history of the Middle Ages, the history of kings and queens and cathedrals and all these things. And this one is the history of Winchester Cathedral and the bone chests that are found there. During the Civil War in the 1600s, the Winchester Cathedral was basically just like bombarded, and troops stormed in, and they've destroyed the stained glass in the front, and they opened up these ancient chests full of bones of kings and queens, and they threw them all around. The story is that they threw them at the stained glass, and that's what broke it all up, and just really wrecked a whole lot of stuff. And so when the people came back in to kind of clean up, they of course did not know what bones went with what chests, and so they just kind of stuck them all in as they could as they were trying to get things cleaned up. If you go online and look at Winchester Cathedral, like photos of it, you will find that the big stained glass in the front doesn't really have a picture in it. It's just kind of a big kaleidoscope, and that's because when the people gathered up all the pieces and tried to just glue them back in there, like, nobody could recreate the pictures that were there. And I don't think anybody really even knows what pictures were there, but they just kind of glued them in pretty and made a kaleidoscope. So there's only 1 or 2 tiny little portions that actually have a picture still. The rest was all busted out. But anyway, these bone chests, they put all the bones in these chests, and they just saved them for all these years, these 400 years or so, they've saved them. And so recently, like within the last 10 to 15 years, they've been able to analyze them. There was over 24 different DNAs there. So it was, you know, more than just the kings and queens that were in there. They even found like a sheep bone. So they, I don't know if they were just like hunting for bones around the area to fill up the chests again, or if somebody put a sheep in there at one point, or what was actually going on. But this book tells that whole history and that whole story. And from my experience of visiting the cathedral multiple times and just the awe that I feel there and the interest that I have in the history, like this book elicits very strong emotion in me, but it might not in you. You might think that's a bunch of crazy. Okay, anyway, let's go to number 3. The problem is, guys, is I don't really like cry at books. And if a book is making me angry, I usually just DNF it. So to completely get through a book, the emotion has to be something like joy and elation and just wonder and homesickness a little bit about wanting to go back to England and these places that I love. And because the other emotions just, they don't work. Prompt number 3 is superpower. A main character with a unique ability or a big epic book. I had to go with a big epic book because most of the people that I read about are just kind of boring and dull and don't have a lot of great, amazing, otherworldly characters. But this is a great big epic book that I think you should read. It's called London by Edward Rutherfurd. It is the story of London from its very, very ancient, you know, like cave dwelling origins all the way up to the 1990s when the guy finished the book. And it takes, it's kind of just a saga of several families and how through the generations they were a part of history and a part of making history. And alongside that, it is the history of London. It's the history of the Thames. And it's fantastic. He actually writes several. He's written several of these kind of books. There's one on New York. There's one on Paris and maybe Russia. There's a lot of different ones, actually, that this guy has done the same thing with. And I read this one. I've read the New York one. They're both so good. But they're chunkers for sure. They do take a while to get through. All right, the next prompt is The American Dream, and that is a book with a great family. Now, I'm going to go with something that might be obvious to most of my listeners, but that is Pride and Prejudice. I'm actually rereading this right now. I got an urge last night, and so I started it. I'm just going to read it over the next day or two. But the family in this book is so funny. I mean, they're just so funny. So many funny things that if you're not really paying attention, like, just totally goes over your head. Like, you don't even catch it. Mr. Bennet is always making such sarcastic remarks about his family, and he's so witty and quick. And you could see why, you know, he and Elizabeth get along so well, because she's the same way. And then Mrs. Bennet is just so obnoxious and so just self-focused and self-centered, and she doesn't even understand. It's like each of the characters in this family have their own very specific personality, right? You've got Jane, who's the pretty and kind one, the nice one, the gentle one. You've got Lizzie, who's probably the most level-headed and, you know, has the most common sense out of all of them. Mary is, you know, the one that really wants to be taken seriously, but she's hard to be taken seriously because she's just kind of obnoxious and sort of, you know, the family black sheep, but more in the sense that just, she's just kind of socially awkward. She's wonderful, but she's just kind of socially awkward. And then you've got Kitty, who just really kind of wants to be heard and seen, but nobody really pays a whole lot of attention to Kitty. At one point, she has a cold, you know, she's sick and she's sneezing or whatever, and just feels miserable, and her mother's just like, suck it up. And, you know, she wants to go and do the things that her younger sister gets to do, Lydia, because Lydia's younger than her, but she is the baby of the family and is definitely treated that way and definitely plays it up. She's just kind of wild child, and Kitty wants to be a wild child, but she doesn't have the guts that Lydia has, I guess. I don't know, but she's just kind of like, it's just all these different stigmas, right? All these different characteristics that you find within a family. Everybody has their own specific part to play in this family to make it what it is, and it's just very well done. You can tell Jane Austen came from a big family because it's definitely big family dynamics in this book. All right, the next one is One Republic, a book with political intrigue. I really had quite a time trying to figure out a book for this one. This one was a challenge, but I decided on the Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. And this book is about a group of people who rescue like French aristocrats who are headed for the guillotine. They kind of go in and like get them out before their heads are chopped off, which is very sweet of them, right? So as I'm trying to tell you more about this book, I find that I'm giving you spoiler after spoiler, so we'll just leave it at that. It's good. It's good political intrigue sort of a book. Next up is Pledge of Allegiance, a book or a series that you are fiercely loyal to. So some of you have seen this before. This is my current collection of Wuthering Heights. I'm at 10 now. I have a personal goal of collecting every edition of Wuthering Heights ever published. And I can't say that it's the greatest book ever written. In fact, the older I get, the more I realize its flaws, but it's such a weird book. It's so weird. Like, there's so much weird about it. The older I get, the weirder it is. But I am fiercely loyal to Wuthering Heights, and I am fiercely loyal to Emily Bronte, its author, although I have sort of developed maybe more of a leaning towards Anne lately, which is weird, because I've been an Emily fan for like a couple of decades now. But I am fiercely loyal to this book. One, I love the story, even though it's like the most depressing story you'll ever read in your life. It's not really a love story like for reals, but I guess if you were just kind of like really immature and thought that's what love was, then maybe you could find it to be romantic. It's actually pretty twisted. But also the things that I love about it are just like, I love that it's weird like that. I love the atmosphere of it. I love the odd archaic vocabulary. Like Emily, her just kind of shows how very unique she is herself in some of the things that she, some of the words that she uses and the phrases. Like, for instance, she says, Mr. Heathcliff and his man climbed the cellar steps with a vexatious phlegm, which means slowly, right? She uses the word acerbated, which means that it affirmed something, which means to like affirm something seriously. She says that someone waxed lachrymose, which means that they spoke tearfully. Like, who says these things? Nobody says these things. And so I feel like there's a genius there that's also kind of odd. And I feel like I would have loved to have been friends with Emily, but I don't think I would have understood her. And she probably would have been extremely irritated with me. She would have thought I was very tedious and petty. Anyway, that's my loyalty, though. I saw 2 really pretty versions of Wuthering Heights today in Barnes & Noble, and I was just like, need them. All right, next prompt. Oh, say can you see? A book that surprised you and gave you chills at the ending. Okay, so this one also took me a while, but once I figured it out. Curtain by Agatha Christie. This is the last Poirot mystery, and this story. So I watched the show before I read the book. My husband and I were watching all of the Poirots, and we had watched all of them before, like years ago. And I don't think we ever watched the last one. Maybe like the last few we actually didn't watch. I don't know if they just hadn't come out yet or what. But we rewatched them, and when we watched the final episode of Poirot, we were both just like, what? Like, we had to pause it and just be like, what? And that's what you do when you read this book. It's just like, no way. It is the biggest shocker. Agatha Christie, just genius. Total genius. Fantastic. Hands down. Best author ever. I don't know. Just, this is fantastic. If you haven't read Curtain yet, it'll be fine. It's not like it's going to spoil any of the other Poirots, but they don't necessarily go on a timeline. I mean, some of them kind of might back to back, but it's not going to spoil anything. Like, I would run right out and read that if you have read any of the Poirot mysteries, are familiar with him and the story and how that whole thing goes. So good. It's so crazy. Okay, next one is Melting Pot, a book that is a blend of 2 genres. Why did I pick this? I don't know. I think I was just trying to pick books that I hadn't shown you guys before. So this one is a blend of historical fiction and biography. This is Victoria Victorious by June Plaidy. June Plaidy was an author who went by several different names. Her original name, her real name was like Ellen something Burford or something like that. But she went by June Plaidy. She went by Victoria Holt for her Gothic books. And her historical fiction, though, she went by June Plaidy. And I love her stories. Haven't read one in a really long time, but I really like them because they give you she writes a lot of British history about the kings and queens mainly. And I don't know, they're all just so interesting to me. You can kind of pick out, what is over dramatized and whatever, but well researched, well done. Like, they're so good. But this one, Victoria Victorious, the reason why I really like this particular book is I feel like it captures Victoria's almost saintly worship of Albert. It captures the way that she treated her children and treated them differently. It points out kind of her favorites or the ones that she didn't like so much. It just really shows how her family dynamic and how it seems that Albert was just so much bigger than in reality, right? It was hard to think she saw any fault in him, and he definitely had his faults. So it portrayed her vulnerability really well, her vulnerability all throughout her life, but especially after his death. I just really liked how June Plaidy brought her different emotional ups and downs into the light. She did not assume a flat character, if that makes sense. Victoria was an up and down sort of person, and that came out really well. She did not come out as a emotionally flat character, right? She lived a long life. She did a lot of stuff and had a lot of interesting things go on, right? So anyway, when my kids get into this portion of British history, this is what I assign to them to read, is Victoria Victorious, because I just think it is such a great biography, even though it's meant to be historical fiction. It's just really well done. All right, and then finally we have Secret Six, which is a book with espionage. And for that, I'm also going to recommend another Connilyn Cossette series. This is a 2-part series that actually has some other spin-offs, but this is the Covenant House series. This series, these 2 books, somewhere in here there is a spy. I'm not going to tell you anything else because I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a spy. Look how I love these covers, because look how the tree comes together, and then look how it's a scroll, like a Taurus scroll here. Wow, put them together. Isn't that cool? Oh, they're so beautiful. But anyway, there is a spy in these stories. The storyline starts off with these 2 books, and then there's a second series that she's just now finishing up that is kind of a spinoff. With some of the same characters, just at a different part of their life. But these take place during the time that the Ark was, the Philistines had it, right? And then they went back and got it. And so it takes place during that time when the Israelites got the Ark back. And the time of Samuel the prophet. Really good biblical fiction series again. All right, and then the last prompt is just westward expansion to tag others. I will see if anybody has not yet been tagged. It is pretty much the end of the month, but if you want to do this one, you don't necessarily have to do it in June, right? Do whatever you want. If you want to do this, then make sure and tag me so I can come watch your video, but I will look around and see if I can find some people to tag. Hope everybody's doing good. This is kind of a little wonky video, but I hope you found it interesting. Hope you guys are doing good. I'll see you soon.